Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 24th, 2021 at approximately 11:38 a.m. PST. Well, things have definitely been interesting. We got the contract signed for the marketing and for the publication for Birth of the Wolf Pack. So that's on its way now. In the next with the next couple of days, it'll be available on authorhouse.com. In the next 2 or 3 weeks, it should be available on both Amazon and on Barnes and Noble. Now, this is the next step in a massive journey that I started I guess it'd be 43 years ago now. As I said a long time ago, if you've got a goal, doesn't matter how big it is, if you've got a goal, set your sights on it and do not give up on it, even if it seems to have been delayed way longer than you would like. Okay, now I was one of the fortunate ones. Okay, and what I mean by that is I was actually able to thank the teacher that really helped me get things started. Okay, and with that in mind, the first book, which is technically the 10th. Okay, it's the first book in the final fourth trilogy. The first book in the fourth trilogy of a 4 trilogy set. Okay, the first book is now in print. Contracts are all signed. It's on its go. Now, the reality behind it is this. The one that is being put out by Author House is a black and white copy. Okay, the ones that I sell directly are color copy and signed. Now, that being said, okay, book 10, technically book 10, is out. The Birth of the Wolf Pack is out. The End of an Epoch. I thought I had a massive problem to deal with because I found a bit of a glitch in the storyline. As it turned out, it wasn't as big of a problem as I thought. It really boiled down to taking 3 pages out of the third book and cutting them out of that and pasting them back into the end of the second. So that all being said, that got cleared out of the way. I've still got to rework it to tie it all together, but since I'm only at the proofreading point at the final edit for the first third of the book, well, almost the first quarter in all fairness, I've got a lot of time to do the final write-up. Okay. But I just got the artwork back for the third book in the trilogy. Okay. And I'll tell you, I'm looking at it, and there's very little I could be happier about. Okay. I'm very pleased with the way the artwork is working out all the way around. Okay. So, again, I picked a goal. So, in all fairness, I don't know if I picked it or if my teacher picked it. But I ran with it. I was given the project in school, and this is where school can come in real handy. I had no idea what I was going to do. Okay, I had no clue at all. In all fairness, I was told, if you don't have an idea, by the time you're 20, you're going to be in trouble. You've got to have an idea in your head by the time you're 20 to be successful. Well, here I am, 58, and I'm finally very aware of what I desire to do. Now, I've got 2 major goals on the go. This set of 12 volume saga is the big one. Okay, that's the big one on a personal level. But, okay, these videos, okay, which I started only in March of this year, okay, thanks very much to those who encouraged me to get that far. These videos, I've come back, I've returned to pass on one simple message. Following karmic law. Be true to yourself. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Working together, we can change this world for the better. Okay, as long as you stay within those karmic laws. Now, the reality is, to get there, you've got to get your own life sorted out first. Take the negative things in your life that you're not content with and start rewriting them so they go elsewhere. Okay, very necessary. And I'm in the middle of doing something up front at the same time. In this case, it's called cooking. So, I've got to put this on pause for just a moment. I had been cooking rice right before I came to do this video, and of course, I figured I'd better go and make sure I shut it off or make sure it was finished, which it was. But these videos, okay, the message is real clear, and I would love this message to get to everybody on the planet. So give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. Because it is time for everybody to realize that we are all in exactly the same position. Wherever you are right now, however you got to where you are, you're starting right there. This is the only time in your life that you can ever change anything, that you can ever make anything happen, is right in the here and now. You can talk about the past and the things that you had planned to do, the things you thought about doing, or the miscalculations you made. You can get hung up on the negative side. And you can talk about the future. Gee, I'd really like to do this. I'd like to get to this side of it, get this accomplished. And I think I'd be really happy as a millionaire. Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if I would be happy as a millionaire. It's just not that important to me. That much I do know. But what I do know is I have always been, in this life, I have always been a person that will, when I've got the spare money, I will turn around and buy somebody, a total stranger. I don't even have to worry about whether they are poor or not, because I'll tell you, the most overlooked group of people that I've run into are what I call the working poor. Okay, you work your tail feathers off and barely have enough to make ends meet, but you're making just enough to be above the line where the government steps in and goes, here you go. Okay, but not enough to get really ahead. So what I do is I'll walk in when I've got the money. I'll walk into a restaurant and go, see that table there? I'm buying that person lunch. Or I'll be in a grocery store if I have the spare money to work with. And I will go, okay, the person next in line, or the person right in front of me, just put it on my bill. And of course, I'll go, pardon? Because people are not used to this. But the reality is, and I've mentioned this many times before, I'm not one for donating to charity, to major charities, because of one factor, and that is the overhead that they have. If I give, if you give $1 to a given charity, out of every dollar you give, there's only a small percentage. Now, the best one I heard of, and I can't tell you what the name was at this point, the best percentage I heard of was 30% of that dollar went to the actual charity. The rest was eaten up by administration costs. So when I go and decide I'm buying somebody groceries, or I'm buying somebody a dinner, or I'm buying somebody something else, 100% of that money goes to that charity. That's the way I work. Okay, now I like the idea that the churches have about the 10% tithe. That works out really nice, and it fits inside my budget at this point. But again, I only do it when I have the money to do it. Okay. But again, the church asks for that. And people give their money to the church. But what I don't see is the church turning around and doing what they're claiming. Okay, now this is just personal opinion. Maybe something's happening that I'm not seeing. Wouldn't surprise me. I don't see everything. And besides that, I'm absolutely not perfect. This is my personal choice that I don't donate to them. Okay, I do it my way, which seems to be the way I've done most of my life. Okay, but take a look at the way your life is. Are you content with the way your life is right this moment? Do you have a goal, a dream that you would love to see happen? Are you trying to become, are you just trying to graduate? Maybe that's your goal. Maybe you're just looking for that right person that you can settle down and have a real content home that you can come home to, that you can be happy with, that you can share your life with somebody. If that's what is making you happy, that's what you go after. This is not a question of whether or not I think it's right or anybody else does. It's whether it feels right to you. Okay. Now, energy you don't stop. It goes where it will. What you can do with energy, though, and this is where I've talked about Feng Shui before. You can guide where energy goes, just like you can guide where water goes. Okay, very important that you get that straight. You cannot stop energy. It will continue moving. It will continue transforming itself. And the way you know it transforms itself is if you've got any background in chemistry, I think, but it might be physics. I'm not sure. Okay, but when you look at the configuration of an atom, okay. Now, what they'll tell you is, what the teachers and the scientists will tell you is, you've got two parts: the protons, the neutrons, and they're surrounded by electrons. But the electrons break away, and they will travel and connect themselves to another molecule somewhere, or another atom somewhere along the way. This is why I say energy changes. Okay. What most people don't realize is you actually have some control over how your life goes. Like, the difference, realistically, when I'm working on the healing side of things, which, yes, I work on that regularly. This is proven by the fact that these glasses used to be required for me to even see. Like, even held here, I could not see my glasses. Now I can actually see the whites of my eyes on the video, which is kind of a change from my end. And it is taking getting used to. But everything your body has, everything your body does, can be, if it's an illness, it can be beaten. Now, there are times when using a crutch is real convenient. And like I said, this is a question of, your body will do it, but you've got to direct the body. You direct the body by getting the sense up here, getting the feeling for it here, the wherewithal, the plan to do it here, and then you make it happen. Okay, now, this is all very, very important. As you get your life straightened out so you're content with what's going on in your life, you will be better equipped to handle what's going on in other people's lives when you leave your own home. That will result in them being more content, them having a better home life, and it will work as a cascade, as a ripple effect. Now, this is a fantastic thing in my eyes. Now, people keep talking to me about, yeah, when all this COVID stuff is over, I want the world to go back to the way it was. I'll tell you, I absolutely do not want it to go back to the way it was. Greed, debauchery, fear, I just don't see the point in going back to that. So I really strongly encourage you to put the negative past behind you and start working on the communication lines. Reach out to the people you've lost contact with. Reach out to the people you've had a falling out with. Okay, this is not to say forget what was done to you. Okay, that would be absolutely bizarre. But it is to say that if you can take the negative past and put it aside and focus on the potential for a positive future, regardless of the religion you're following, regardless of the spiritual guide you're following, regardless of the support group you've got around you or the family. Now, I was talking to somebody the other day where, because they weren't doing exactly what their family wanted, the family disowned them. Now, I'll tell you, that is the most appalling thing that I personally have ever run into. You know, when you bring children into the world, frankly, now I'm a parent, okay, and when you bring children into the world, do not get rid of them. Okay, do not tell them they're not your kids, because frankly they are. But I'll tell you, the damage is absolutely, it's almost insurmountable. Some kids will get past it and be able to put things back together, but it doesn't happen often. Okay, and I'll tell you, at this point, you know, I was told one day that talking to people about getting along, about working together, I was told, somebody literally come right out and told me, you're trying to start a cult. It's people like you telling people to be nice to each other that are causing the problem in this world, that are causing, you know, complications. You know, you're starting a cult. And I looked at him and went, well, I'll tell you what. If I'm starting a cult and I'm asking people to pay attention, to spread the word that I've returned to pass, and be nice to each other, if that's the cult, then absolutely, let's start a global cult. I got no problem with it anymore. I used to have this thing about I don't want to be in the spotlight. I really don't. Okay, well, my life has gone from a very bizarre setup to this. I've got 5 books in print already anyway, but I now have a contract with an actually international publisher. Okay, that, with a little bit of luck, will put me in the spotlight. Okay, from the standpoint of I'll get people buying my books, and maybe, who knows, down the road I'll end up with a movie contract out of the deal. I don't know at this point. What I do know is I won't be turning over the rights to my books. Okay, I mean, those will go to somebody. What I'm betting on is they'll probably go to one of my kids, but I really don't know. That'll depend on them down the road. But will I turn them over to a stranger? Not a snowball's prayer. And of course, I was told, well, that's the way it's done. That's the way the industry runs. I don't frankly care how the industry runs. It's not the way I'm aiming for it, so it's not the way it's going to work for me. Okay, yes, I've got a stubborn streak 1.5 miles wide. Hence why, when they diagnosed me dead, I walked out of the morgue at 5. I didn't agree with them, so I left. Okay, my life is very much along the lines of science fiction. But when I talk about being a spiritual guide, what I'm talking about is the tools that I'm offering you, that I'm suggesting you implement, the philosophies I'm suggesting you take a serious look at and potentially implement. These are the exact same tools that I personally use. And if you ever run into me in person, you'll find I talk the same way. Okay, I go from one side to the other. I tend to talk with my hands a whole lot. I'll trip over my tongue more often than I care to count. But the reality is, this is why I do not edit my videos. I'll get finished the end of the video, and I'll turn around, I'll double check, make sure I got the date right, and then I'll post it as is. Now, at the bottom of the videos, if you're looking to contact me, at the bottom of every video, there's a list of contact points to get a hold of me. Absolutely, you name the question, you can probably drop me the question at one of those points below. Okay, they're right below this video. Okay, now I've been dealing with consulting people on personal lives, on their business, on alien abductions, on alien technology, on dream interpretation, you name it. I've probably been dealing with it. So the thing is, if you ask me a question, I'll give you an honest answer. The only thing I'll guarantee is I will not lie to you to make you feel better. Okay, which means if you ask me a question I don't know the answer to, I'm going to tell you, look, I'd love to give you an answer, but I just don't have one. Okay, that said, working together, we can make this world a better place for everybody. But it is up to you, not the elite. I mean, they're involved as well. The elite are not the responsible people. The politicians and the religious leaders, they are not the ones to point the finger at. The person to point the finger at is you. Are you doing your part to eliminate the negative energies from your life, to get the energy running in your life so you can have what you consider an enjoyable life? Now, if that is the case, okay, then you're contributing to the solution. If you're bullying people, if you're telling people, oh, you can't do that, or you've got to live your life in fear, okay, if you're being told you've got to live your life in fear, there is a serious problem. Okay, and fear is not a good way to live your life. Trust me on this one. Well, heck, don't trust me on it. If you've tried living in fear, it doesn't feel very good. Okay, but the message that I've returned to bring to you is that working together, we can make this a better world. Okay, the easiest of the karmic laws to understand: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay, if you follow even just that one karmic law, you will be head and shoulders above where you were. Okay, now of course, if you're already following that one, there's no problem. Okay, you just carry on. You follow the other two as well, though. Be true to yourself, and energy out, energy in. Okay. right here, right now, is the time to change your life for what you consider the better. But it's up to you to do the work. I can offer you all the tools in the world. Anybody can offer you all the tools in the world. If you don't pick the tools up, your life is not going to change. If you continue doing the same thing you've been doing time and time again. I love the way it was put to me one day. Okay. Insanity is best described as repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Well, Lord knows I made that mistake for long enough. Okay. Hence why I spent so much time of my life. Well, I'm 58 now. And really, it was when I hit 56 that I started getting an idea that I really have to change what I'm doing. Net result, I've started down a very interesting road. Now, the dreams that you have, doesn't matter what they are. I will tell you, if you desire to become a big screen actor or actress, the odds of it, it's a very few that actually make it. There are thousands of unemployed actors. This does not mean give up on the dream. It's a long haul. Let's face it. Like I said, I'm 58. I got this idea I wanted to get these books written. Well, I could not be happier, I don't think, because the first one's out, the sequel is just about finished, and as soon as it's finished, I will be putting it to print. Okay. And once I've done that, I've already got the artwork for the final book in the final trilogy. I've already got the artwork for the front cover done. I just have to talk to him and make sure that we're both on the same page. Because now is the time for things to shift gears. Now is the time, right this moment. This is the only time that you can do anything. Okay, if you go, I'll do it in 5 minutes, you're still not, when you get around to doing it, is when you finally get up to that 5 minutes and you go, now I'm going to do it. You'll notice it's now. This is the only time you can do it. Okay. I do strongly encourage you to find a church, a coven, a temple, a support group like AA or NA or the one for PTSD. There's a support group for just about everything. Okay. And I will tell you, to those of you that have kids, okay, what you're looking for is not necessarily an adult counselor. Kids, in case you hadn't noticed, quite often won't talk to the adults. Whether they're related or not, they just don't on the whole. Okay. But there are kids out there that have a lot more wisdom than what people will give them credit for. Okay. Now remember, kids are born loving, caring, and yes, curious, but they are taught greed, they are taught prejudice, they are taught fear. Okay. You're taught these negatives. And greed and prejudice are absolutely the worst things you can teach people, as far as I'm concerned. Of course, immorality kind of works out that way, too. Now, the reason for finding a group of people that you can relate to is because that sense of brotherhood, that sense of community belonging, whether it's your bloodline family, which unfortunately I see happen way too often where that buckles, okay, whether it's a group of friends that you call those your family, okay, you still require the support. Okay, now I am one of the fortunate few that has managed to run into somebody that is right at the beginning of attaining their dream. And I will tell you, I'm quite happy. It's a field that I would never consider getting into myself. I never did consider getting into it. Okay, I just didn't see the point in getting into it. Okay, but it was their dream, and I'm absolutely tickled pink that they are fine that they are attaining it. As they told me, it's been a dream of theirs for 10 years. Well, that's about 4 times the speed, well, about a quarter of the time the speed that it took me to get to mine. Okay, so you can bet your bottom dollar I will do what I can to support them. in my opinion, I'm now in a position where I've actually got my head on straight to do, this is what I'm aiming at, this is what I can afford to work with, so now I can start making things happen. I used to be very short-sighted, okay, and I don't mean just physically. Physically, I used to be really short-sighted too. My glasses I couldn't see when they were that far from my head. They were just literally invisible. Okay. But now I know where I'm heading. I always said I didn't want to be in the spotlight. And the funny part there is it was pointed out to me just a few weeks back that whether other people put me in the spotlight or other people put me on a pedestal, that's not the point. I won't be able to stop that from happening. All I can stop from happening is making sure I don't look at people and go, I'm better than they are. I'm not. I'm stubborn as the day is long. I am not the best of the best. Okay. But I have got an idea in my head of what I'm aiming for. At this point, it is literally, like when I was talking to the people at Author House, I was asked what my long-term goal was, and like I told them, right now it is simply getting these 12 books written. So I'm writing all 12 at the same time. By the end of this weekend, I will have covered at least a quarter of the written part of the project. A quarter of the entire saga. Okay. Now that's really not that hard to believe since I'm right now at 23% of it written. And obviously a quarter is only 25%. So I'm only looking at probably a dozen pages or so to be added to the saga to get that extra percent. Okay. Well, in all fairness, at 4,800 pages, I'm looking at, I think, 5. Of course, my math is probably off there. And let's just see here. If we just get our wonderful little calculator out, take 4,800 pages, which is an estimate of what I'm looking at, and we multiply that by 0.02, in other words, by 2%. Oh, okay, no, that's a whole lot more. Unless I may have done my math wrong, because I think what I just did there says that looks like I've got about 96 pages to do, which is not unheard of. I mean, heck, just the other day, I went through, in a period of 2 days, I scanned through 1,300 pages. You know, I mean, that's just the important part right there. What I'm looking for is where the heck my percent key went. And I have no idea. So, we'll just do it that way. Remember this thing about this being a live video? You know, the reality, so that's not working. I didn't say that I was perfect. As a matter of fact, I recall saying I wasn't. But, the point being, I have a very definitive goal. Am I happy about the progress I'm making at this point? Absolutely. Have I made some mistakes along the line? Absolutely. I have undoubtedly burnt some bridges along the line. And I'm sure you burnt some. Okay, because the reality is it happens. Especially while you're trying to figure out where you're standing. Now, I am happy to say that since I started writing my goals down with my left hand coordination is climbing rather nicely. Okay. But, with this in mind, again, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you can get the rest of the videos, and absolutely go back to the subset of language, which will tell you some of the words that I've uncovered that are absolutely self-deprecating, and the series called Races of the Worlds. Okay, where I cover a number of ancient races and off-world races with societal details. Okay, now that said, I'm going to bring this to a close. I will be back again tomorrow. So until we talk again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.